Primed for gaslighting by upbringing. No, he would never say something like that. You must have heard it wrong. This is a parent's manipulation with lack of awareness of the harm that's being done when they deny a child's feelings. Over time, that child then, as they are growing up, is more vulnerable to somebody saying, no, that's not what happened. And they are vulnerable to second-guessing the way they see the world. And therefore, they are being primed for gaslighting. We know that there are kind of gross examples where parents will not allow children to have an emotion. For example, there's no anger in our house. We do not get angry in our house. So, these children wind up never even knowing what anger is as an emotion because they're not allowed to experience it. This leads to pretty serious consequences in their own lives, in their own adult relationships. We know that they do tremendous harm. The constant here is harm. Harm is being done of a certain kind that makes you question yourself. That's a particular harm, yeah. That's what gaslighting does. The kind of gaslighting that we are talking about is a deliberate manipulation intended to cause harm. There's definitely evil if you're doing it with the intent to harm, like bullying is. Evil because it is the manipulation of power of among unequals with the intent to cause harm. It's not just harm, but it's that dark, sinister intention to hurt people. It's not just, as it is in the case of the parent-child examples, not just to control the moment or to control the child's behavior. Gaslighting often seeks to undermine someone's confidence or to make them believe that they're crazy or paranoid. Gaslighters. People are not born gaslighters or the tendency to gaslight. It is not something that is genetically determined. It's learned behavior. It's learned by either being the victim of gaslighting at an early age, or it's learned by witnessing it, or it's learned by happening into it and finding out that it works. It shuts people up. It gets them off your back. It keeps them stable in that moment. Like they don't have to feel anxious. They are not going to be caught. They not have to admit to anything. They don't have to do anything different. They just have to get rid of it, the responsibility, and throw it on someone else. There are some people, however, who are, as with bullies, go through life misusing their power. Some people will misuse a particular form of power, but there are some people who will use any instrument to misuse their power, anything that they can grab at. Gaslighting is one instrument that some people use. Of course, we all know that there are personality types who are gonna be more prone to misusing power or not even caring about what happens to other people. They really don't care about the effects on someone. They're driven by their own self-interested motives. To observe that our political structure involves gaslighting these days? Manipulating power. To do that, it unleashed a lot of bad behaviors because when people at the top commit or allow or tolerate it, this has a trickle-down effect. What's been happening with gaslighting? One in particular is what a lot of people call medical gaslighting. An example being someone goes to the doctor, and very often it's a woman, and immediately we're cued in because it's a woman to what is going to be a power dynamic. Okay? It's unspoken usually, but that's part of it. A woman will go to the doctor with a complaint that's kind of nebulous, for which there nothing seems to be apparent medically. Doctors aren't rewarded for going down rabbit holes to chase nebulous symptoms. Such type of symptoms could be called psychosomatic, unfortunately. Patients are often told it's in their heads. I have a problem with that. That's being thought of as medical gaslighting. There's a difference between being careless and thoughtless, mindless, and intentionally gaslighting, of course. So, it could be that a doctor in a moment can't find a ready diagnosis and is really struggling and is not a good communicator, which is not okay. But there are many who are being careless, which is also not okay. However, it happens. If it happens once, and your doctor says that to you, it is a red flag. It's a potential gaslighting situation. Because if you go back the following week and you say, I'm still not feeling well, and the doctor says, honey, it's in your mind. And maybe he doesn't actually say honey, but he basically wants you to believe that there's something wrong with you. That you keep coming back and saying this thing. The object of the gaslighting is often a woman. We know it also occurs among men, but in that kind of situation often women begin to question themselves, unless they have done their homework beforehand, or get a second opinion later, or have some other support that validates their experience. But fortunately, lots of people just became aware of it.
In these modern times, many people struggle. So here are some ways to simply stay alive in 2025. First, remember to focus on shit that you yourself can control. If it's not your toilet, it's not your shit. Next, block and bless. At this point, you're either on the right side or you're beyond help. And we are not out in these streets wasting energy to teach anyone how to be fucking decent anymore. And finally, if you're strapped on cash this year, remember that sleep is the freest vacation of all. So how are you staying alive in 2025? Speak, or better yet, scream now, and I'll wait. Don't worry. You'll be all right. Maybe. This just in, a recent study has proven that 100% of me doesn't give a fuck. And this just in, you can go fuck yourself.
I noticed that when you're too friendly, too kind, and too social, people start showing you disrespect. They take your kindness for weakness and think they can walk all over you. People start underestimating you, thinking you're soft just because you're a good person. But the moment they push you too far, they're going to see a whole different side of you, a side they ain't ready for. If you're always being nice, always doing things for them, they'll keep expecting it. And eventually, they'll think they can take advantage of you, run over your shoes like you ain't even there. That's when you got to step up. You got to step up and show them a side they've never seen before. Just because you're nice, just because you're showing love, doesn't mean you got to tolerate their BS.